Hi there, if you're seeing this video, it's because you are interested in taking one of my online art classes or you've just signed up for one. My name is Sharon and I'm here with a quick little video that will hopefully answer some of the questions that you might be having about how online art classes work or how I structure my online art classes. So let's have a look together. Now, usually there are three categories of artists that I see in the classroom. And the first category is generally around age 4 to 6. And this is what I would consider to be the early arts education. In this category, we're really focused on using correct art terminology, in an age-appropriate way so that we can get familiar with things like our grip and our materials and what happens when we start to experiment with those materials. When we get into the second age group that I've listed here, which is about 7 to 11 years old, these are artists who are interested in art. They spend a fair amount of their personal time drawing or painting or considering artistic endeavors, but they perhaps need a little bit of guidance, either in a specific technique or to overcome an art block that they perceive to exist. The last category that I have broken this down into is the 12 to 16 year group, and in this group these artists have been working a lot longer at honing their skills. Perhaps they need a little bit more guidance in terms of technicality and how to use the materials in a way that will help them be the most successful. We also really want to hone in on that the elements of art and design and how those things can help us achieve our goals. Artists in this category range from beginner, someone who just sparked that interest in creativity, to very advanced, someone who has spent a bunch of time really developing their skill, but enjoys a bit of a push beyond or is looking for that next challenge. Now, if you're considering a class with me or you just signed up for a class with me, there is something here that I think probably describes you best, and that is you are an artist who is possibly seeking specialized instruction from a working artist. So you want to talk to somebody who is out there doing this every single day. You want to talk to somebody who has pursued art as a lifelong career. If you're looking to advance your techniques and advancing your skills, if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of, say, watercolors or charcoal or light and shadow, I mean, there's so many things that I could list off, but if you really want to get into what makes art successful, which is a really big concept and a very abstract thing to say, there are specific techniques. I often use the phrase, we like to learn the rules so we can learn how to break the rules, right? Or bend the rules in art. A lot of people will say there's no rules in art, but guess what? In some cases there actually is. But that doesn't mean they're meant to be rigid and boxed in. Okay, if you're an artist and you're looking to build and develop or strengthen a portfolio, perhaps you're looking to get your portfolio accepted into an art group, or you're looking at some sort of special acceptance that you need to study art in a brick and mortar place, I can absolutely help you with your portfolio development and sort of give you some ideas on what an art instructor or what an art institute might be looking for at your stage and age. Okay, if you're an artist who enjoys art but you're not sure where to start, like you kind of like it but you're just not really sure what you're going to like best, I can definitely help there. It's usually a process of elimination, but we can usually gather in and hone in on what kind of art is really going to excite you and keep you engaged long term, right? If you're an artist who's interested in the process of creating art, as opposed to only worried about the finished product, there is a place for that, and I am super thankful that there are product-driven classes out there, but mine are not among them. Here we like to look at process, we like to look at technique and fundamentals. We want to understand the choices that we're making so that the art we create is not by accident, okay? I want to give you the tools that you need to create successful art, not just when you're with me in my class, but when you're away from me, when you are out in your own art practice in the world, that you have those tools and that experience to draw upon to duplicate your success. Not duplicate your art piece, but duplicate your success. So let me take a minute and tell you a little bit about me. I began working in the arts after I graduated from post-secondary school in 2002. Now, I studied illustration and storyboard art and sequential illustration, so I love telling stories through pictures. I have been teaching in studio spaces since 2006. I started teaching in private studios. I taught in more public studios, all mostly children, but also adults, and even sometimes teaching teachers how to bring arts and incorporate it into their classroom. I began teaching online in 2019, so I really started converting some of that studio art curriculum into online curriculum in about 2019, and it has been such a fantastic way to connect with artists all over the world in all ages and all stages. So I am an illustrator and I am a fine artist, which means that I illustrate children's books. I put paintings in art shows. I will do commissions, portraits, pet portraits, home portraits. I am part of paint groups. I actively go out and plein air paint about 2 seasons a year. I have a passion for art and art materials. I could talk about art materials till I'm blue in the face. I have a real joy for this, and I love learning. In my classroom, we are co-learners. We are learning this material together. I might have already done it before, but art is one of those wonderful topics, or one of those wonderful areas where you are constantly learning. Even if you've done it 100 times before, the 102nd time you've done it, something new is going to happen. And you might love it or you might not love it. But either way, you have learned something new each and every time you sit down with your materials in your art space, in your art practice. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. I am happy to answer questions if you have them. So just message me and I will answer them. And lastly, I want to talk to you a little bit about the classes that I offer. So there are kind of 2 categories. But I've broken it down here into 3. The first is our live classes. Now, there are one-time live classes, which will happen one time. We meet one day, and then we might not ever meet again. There are courses, which are live meetings, but there might be 4 or 5 of them. So we might study charcoal portraits once a week for 3 weeks, and then we're done. Okay, or we might study ink drawing for 5 weeks, but then it's done. So it has a beginning date and it has an end date, unlike the following category, which is ongoing. So when we sign up for this class, it is a live meeting. We will have a set schedule, and in our calendar it will be recurring, and you can pause this. We can put in only specific dates. We can take out vacation days, but typically this is a once a week ongoing. And the course material, while we will have some guidelines, I'll assess where you are at the beginning. We'll set up some goals for our meetings. It is a little bit more organic in style, and it can change as your interests change or as your skill level develops. So we might start here at the beginning, and we might change our path because all of a sudden we got to this point faster. So we got to here and now we're going to go to here. That's a very abstract way to say that it will change depending on you, the artist, or your artist's development and interests. The asynchronous part of classes are flex classes, self-paced classes. These are classes that do not happen at the same time. Recorded material will be placed in the classroom for you to look at It could either be in a drip format or it could be all at once and you work through it self-paced. I am available for an amount of time in which I can respond, encourage, offer feedback, which is incredibly important part of art classes online. When I provide feedback on your art, your assignments, I will do my very best to respond to your work with video, live with video. I want you to see some draw overs sometimes, so I'll take your image and I'll draw over top of it digitally so that you can see some of the things that I'm trying to explain. So even though we're not learning at the same time, like in a live class, we're still learning together, okay? Now, there's also the live category, which is, I put one-on-one tutoring, okay? There's two different ways to go about this. Tutoring can happen on demand, and it can be in support of the asynchronous classes. It can be in support of a larger coursework if you need just an extra time, just extra live time where we can sit and talk about the materials, or it can be in the form of one of the ongoing courses where it's just one-on-one, ongoing, meeting every week. It does cost a little bit more than a group class because it is one-on-one, but I think that tutoring is really great for those who want that specialized attention, or who are really at a point where they're very serious about their artwork and they want to be able to ask all the questions and not just go through the assignments, but really dive a little bit deeper and maybe overcome art blocks that come up. There are as many different ways to learn as there are learners out there. And so with the spectrum of these three different categories, I feel like I've really captured an experience for every type of learner. If you are someone who loves the camaraderie of working with other artists, you might really like courses, live courses, where you are in a group class with other students and you're all doing the same work together at the same time. And usually there's lots of chatter and it's fun to meet other people that way. If you are someone who is a little bit more shy, or you want to share your work but only with the teacher, you might find that the one-on-one tutoring is best. If you are someone who wants to work at a pace that is your own, much more slow or much more quickly, then the flex or self-paced might be what is for you. So those are just a few of the things that I have to offer. And the last point here is I want to talk to you about expectation of homework. Okay, when I meet you in a live class, I usually do not expect homework. However, if we are working at a pace that is different than what is on the syllabus, then you might find that you need to catch up. For example, in a live course, in a group class, you might need to catch up in between week 1 and week 2. Or if it's not a one-time, if it's ongoing and we started to explore something and we got into a tangent, or maybe we're doing watercolors and we need to let something dry before we add the finishing touches on it, that kind of homework might occur. I typically try to make sure there's no homework, but it cannot be avoided in things like asynchronous learning or really specialized instruction. I will keep your work in class time as much as possible, but you should expect that you will spend some time on class material outside of class time. It's not a fast rule. It's not, I don't want to make lives busier than they already are. But chances are, if you are coming to one of my classes, you have a personal art practice already. You have a time that you do it, maybe while you're watching TV, or maybe while you're waiting for, you know, a sibling at a sport event, or maybe in a car ride. Maybe you, you know, set up every Saturday morning to draw, but that will never be something that I am assigning you to do before the next class. If you don't get to it before the next class, perfectly okay. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I hope this answered a few of your questions about what to expect. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being interested in my online art classes. And I will see you all again next time.